Welcome to Illuminating Catholics, podcast of the Diocese of Sioux City. I'm Dawn Prosser, Director of Communications for the Diocese. Together with Carmen Bauer of the Faith Formation Office, we will shed light upon topics of faith in the modern church. Our guests include Catholic clergy, religious sisters, and other experts in their fields to help us understand what's happening in the church today. We will explore issues, even the tough ones, and to find answers to common questions about Catholicism. Thank you for joining us for today's Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church. Welcome back to the Illuminating Catholics podcast of the Diocese of Sioux City. I am Dawn Prosser, and I am Director of Communications for the Diocese.
And I am Carmen Bauer. I am the Director of Faith Formation.
This is our 28th episode. We're so excited, and we're very appreciative of everyone for listening. We're getting new subscribers all the time and getting great feedback. So we do want to thank you all. We do appreciate all of you. Today, and all of our guests are special. We have special guests with us from a couple time zones and an ocean away. Our seminarians that are currently studying at the Pontifical North American College in Rome, affectionately known as the PNAC, as I'm told. We have Thomas Kollasch of Bancroft and Anthony Vera of Mars. They're zooming in to talk to us about what's been going on in Rome and at the Vatican since the death of the Holy Father, Pope Francis. So we're so excited that you made time for us. Welcome.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for having us.
This is great.
Well, it's about time that we get you guys on here.
Yeah.
Sorry that it took the death of Pope Francis before we thought about reaching out. Just kidding. No, it's so great to, Don and I are lucky to be able to see you right now through Zoom, and it's just nice to see you guys both doing so well, it seems. For our listeners who maybe haven't had the opportunity to meet you as seminarians of the diocese, we'd love just to learn a bit about your background and how you ended up in Rome. So, Thomas, we'll start with you.
Thanks. Yeah, I am Thomas. I am 24 years old right now, which is a little young. Like, I'll be ordained a priest at 25. It's the earliest that you can be ordained. So yeah, I have a great background and the grace of God calling me at a young age to thank for that. I went to Catholic school growing up in Bancroft. I went to St. John the Baptist Elementary and then transferred into Bishop Garrigan High School. And while I was there, I was kind of thinking about maybe becoming a priest in the future, but was a little timid to do that when I graduated. So I just followed some friends of mine and went to university. I went to the University of Iowa and studied for 2 years. I was in biology doing pre-dentistry because I had a great experience with my dentist growing up. I know it's not a common background story, but yeah, okay. I wanted to do that for a little while, and then really had some strong encounters with Christ in prayer in my first year at the Newman Center at the University of Iowa, and just had an awesome community in which to live that. And from there, I was much more drawn to go deeper in this relationship with Christ and to have everything in my life focus on him, even study. And so I decided to ask for an application to seminary. And after my second year at Iowa, I transferred in to Winona, Minnesota, Immaculate Heart of Mary Seminary, and spent 2 years there. And absolutely loved it. Had a great time. Made some great friends. I entered with Anthony. Actually, we entered at the same time, but I'm 2 years ahead of him because I was coming in with those 2 years from Iowa, and he was coming straight out of high school. And yeah, now I find myself here with Anthony. I'm super grateful that he's here and can have some Sioux City community. And it's kind of a funny story how I got to the NAC. I was calling Father Shane Deeman, our vocation director, to let him know that I was really impressed with Kenrick Seminary in St. Louis, which was the other option. It was most likely I would either go to St. Louis or to Rome for major seminary after minor seminary. And I was calling to say that I had a great time at Kenrick Seminary on my visit there, and I would like to go there next year. And he responded with, well, actually, the bishop and I were thinking you'd be great in Rome. And my heart kind of sunk. I had to think about that one. There's a lot of fears coming up, like, oh, I'll be far away from family, from home, and I just don't know what it's like. But I trust their judgment, and I decided to follow their judgment and say yes to go to Rome. And I'm really glad I did. It's been an amazing a gift to be here.
How many years have you been there, Thomas?
So this is nearing the end of my third year here, out of 5 years total,
Okay.
4 or 5 years total. So yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I love your story, Thomas, and I'm always looking at a parent perspective since I have a couple little ones, and as a parent you can't tell your child what their vocation is, but you can teach them to listen to the voice of Jesus in their heart, listen to the voice of Christ speaking to them. And I just love that in your story that God used your own, considered your timing, and when he spoke to you and you encountered him in prayer even while studying and at the University of Iowa. So I just thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, thanks, Carmen.
How about you, Anthony? Would you be able to fill our listeners in on your background and what brought you to Rome?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Anthony Vera. My hometown is Mars, Iowa, ice cream capital of the world. And so me and Thomas are very similar in the fact that we both went to Catholic school. I went to Galen Catholic from kindergarten all the way through high school. So shout out to our Catholic schools.
Yay.
I feel that for me, there was like an intellectual approach of like always knowing that God should be the priority in my life. But it wasn't until like middle school where I started going to some of these religious retreats and things like that, where I really got to feel that interiorly. And God really hit me in a profound way. I remember some specific instances of adoration. And then especially in my freshman year, going to a Steubenville conference for the first time and having the priest go around with the monstrance all around and to have the monstrance stop right in front of me and just like Jesus kind of peering into my soul and telling me that he loves me, knowing all my faults and everything, and just feeling completely overwhelmed with the love of Christ, love of God for me, and knowing that I wanted to follow that in my life. So I entered seminary right after high school. I went to Immaculate Heart of Mary in Winona, Minnesota with Thomas, which was a real joy. I got to be there for 2 years under Bishop Quinn, who was a profound bishop who really made a lot of time for us to have like one-on-one meetings with us. And then 2 years with Bishop Barron, which was a very fun experience to see, to be involved in some of his ministry and stuff like that, just to hear him preach. He's a profound speaker. After which I came here to Rome. This is basically the end of my first year. I've been here since July. And so, still feeling like I'm learning a lot of just like getting acclimated to this new country, the language, the culture, even just like the different ways of study. The education system's a lot different from in the U.S., but it's been a real joy. It's been a real challenge, but Christ has kind of been leading me through that all, and he's been helping me grow in my faith. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. So you are in Rome, and Easter Monday, we, at least in the States, woke up to the news that the beloved Holy Father had passed away on Easter Monday after somehow being able to address the crowd on Easter Sunday. Can you tell us how you learned of the Pope's death?
Yeah. I was sitting right here in my room, and I was preparing to travel because we were all of us seminarians at the PNAC were here for Holy Week and celebrated the Easter Triduum together. And then all of that leading up to after the big Easter Vigil Mass, it was, a lot of preparations. Like we were both in the choir, so we were singing for it. And so Easter Sunday is just kind of a like relaxed, chill out day and kind of enjoy Easter. And then really the whole break kind of follows from that. Like we did a lot of preparation for the Triduum, and now we get a break, and some guys can travel, some guys like to stay here. And I was preparing to travel with some friends when all of a sudden I just checked my phone, saw that there was a notification, and somebody had sent to my class group chat that a news article that the Pope had died. So I was stunned and started checking other things. There were other notifications, like verified it with another news article and a message, and just like shocked. And my door was shut, and it felt strange to have the news and not relate it to anybody. So I like opened the door, went out into the hallway, and just like looked around, and somebody was down the hall. It's like, "Bro, did you hear?" And I was like, "Yeah, like that's crazy. Like what?" And just kind of like talking it out with some guys in the hallway, just like taking time to like let it settle in, like, oh, like this this really happened. And my mind immediately went to what happened on Easter Sunday when both Anthony and I were up on our roof at the PNAC, where we have a nice view of St. Peter's. It's a great blessing.
Yes.
And we were up there during the Urbi et Orbi blessing, the blessing to the city and to the world that the Pope gives every Christmas and every Easter. And I just remember feeling the sort of gravity of Pope Francis's speech. Like, it was so beautiful. I was so moved. And I just thought, like, wow, that really seems like something of a last hurrah, or that seems like really a last message that he's trying to give to the world. And I didn't think like, oh, maybe he's going to die tonight or tomorrow. I didn't think that. But I thought, like, wow, this really seems to have some weight behind it. And it's so beautiful that he comes out and gives his blessing, even when he sounds this kind of aspirated voice. So I immediately thought to that and was just like, wow, how fitting in God's timing that he delivers this beautiful message, and it's Easter, and then he goes to the house of the Lord.
Yeah, it was kind of the same experience for me. I was in my room. I was actually packing my bag because we were going to leave that morning. And then likewise, my class chat kind of blew up, and everyone was sharing the news. And my group, I was going to go traveling to some northern cities in Italy with some of my classmates from Washington, D.C. And they were actually out getting the car. And so, like, they were getting a rental car so we could take a little road trip. And they said that they received the news basically right as soon as they got the car and were like coming back. And so Ocean comes up and we're all talking about it. And so the seminary quickly like gathered together, just a little bit of communal time at noon to have us all come together. The rector here, Monsignor Powers, gave this beautiful reflection and prayer for our community. And so we all stuck around. We actually planned to leave right away in the morning, but we stuck around till about 1 and had that time together to share a moment of prayer for our Pope. So,
yeah, and it was actually the bells, the chapel bells, that called us down to that. We knew the protocol from months ago when Pope Francis was in the hospital, that if the bells started ringing, that meant the Pope died, and come down to the chapel for a prayer service that like, may his soul rest in peace, and a word from the rector. So we received the news already on our phone, but and it took a while. The bells rang maybe an hour later, I think, and we went down for the prayer service, and then the bells at St. Peter's rang at noon, right at noon, even though he had died earlier in the morning, 7:30, I think, and they rang 88 times for as many years as Pope Francis lived.
Wow, you guys are there. Just what a moment of history, and to be a seminarian at that time. I can't imagine. You'll always remember this. And I know that, and I probably don't have the details right, that they did have the Holy Father's body laying in state. I know we say that with civic leaders, but I'm not sure about a religious leader. Were you able to go and pay respects? Because I'm sure the crowds were huge.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking with Monsignor Powers before we left, and he said, there's some days of mourning before the funeral, so you guys are free to travel. So we did our road trip up in some northern cities, but then we did cut it short because we heard that the funeral was posted for Saturday. So we actually got back late Thursday night, and I was able to get up really early on Friday. I think we pulled up to the piazza at 4 in the morning, and so yeah, I only had to wait about 2 hours. They opened up the gates a little early actually, and I was able to go in, and we were some of the first people to come in on Friday morning to basically this wake service, and it was really beautiful to be able to walk in, and we had a really nice opportunity to come around and just to these side pews, and I was able to pray there for 45 minutes or so. And just kind of being able to, pray for the Pope, but also just feeling like a lot of sense of peace with that, and asking him to pray for me as well. For me, I think that was just a very, very personal thing. Pope Francis, I was very blessed to have him. Every year he was inviting the NAC, the new men, the first year guys, to come visit him upon entering Rome. And so to be able to have met the Holy Father, to shake his hand, I even got to ask him a question. I said, as seminarians preparing to be priests, what's the most important thing we should keep in mind? And he gave this beautiful, eloquent response on balancing just like, yeah, the studies, the spiritual aspects, and even like the physical things. I remember like he wrapped it up with say, do sports, fare sports. So he was just a real joy and just a real presence in the room for me. So to have that man who really felt like he really greeted me into Rome and was a real father figure in that sense. It was really quite the encounter that I don't think I'm ever going to forget. And I was able to receive his rosary that he blessed, and it was very beautiful. And so to be able to kind of say goodbye to him was a real consolation for me.
What did his body look like? Like was it
Yeah.
propped? Because I remember 2 years ago I visited Pope Benedict the 16th after he died, and he was just like laying in sort of open air on a sort of table. Is that what was happening?
That's what traditionally happened. My understanding is that Pope Francis actually like simplified a lot of things about the funeral. Whereas before they would have like these kind of like 3 stages of coffins and things like that. Pope Francis just had the one coffin. It was made out of wood, and he was already in it. So
Close.
it wasn't closed. It was open. But if you were when I was kneeling there, like you couldn't really see him as I was praying. But I was able to stand up and get close and see him as well. And to be honest, he looked so different. I feel that his body with his age and stuff like that, he was getting kind of really, I don't even know how to say, like maybe bloated and things like this. But after he passed away, he seemed almost like, look a lot smaller. He just looked a lot smaller and a lot paler, obviously. And it was quite the stark contrast. And you definitely could notice a difference.
Did anybody go to the actual funeral, or was that really closed off, or Jude's from your rooftop?
Yeah, we were able to go to the funeral.
Oh, wonderful.
And we actually, I had the privilege of distributing communion at it as an instituted acolyte. So Anthony attended with some others in the square, but I was asked to go back in the Via della Conciliazione, which is the long road that leads up to the square.
Okay.
So I was actually further away, and it was all outside. So the mass was outdoors, and they had screens set up so we could see it. But the main mission for me and about 200 or 300 other seminarians from all around the world, from different colleges, maybe about 15 of us from here at the PNAC, were in this group, and we were basically waiting around until communion time. And at communion, we went out. There were already consecrated hosts in the sacristy of this church, because there were just so many people that they had to prepare beforehand to make sure that everything was under control. So actually, right after the homily, we all went back and grabbed a ciborium with the Blessed Sacrament, and then we were just standing in the aisles of the church during the Eucharistic prayer, waiting until it was time to go out for communion. And it was awesome. I was thinking of like military movies where the soldiers are like waiting to be dispatched when they're like in an airplane. They're just like standing in order, or they're somewhere else just like ready for orders. We were all just kind of standing there in silence, holding Christ, and just preparing to offer him to the people. And it was a really profound experience for me to give communion. Just as we were walking to our spots in the Via della Conciliazione, just the silence that was in the crowd at different moments during the mass. Like there's so many people, yet there's still a sense of reverence, a sense of silence. And then when it's time to distribute communion, just to see everybody's face was such a meaningful thing, and to offer the body of Christ to them, and to pray for the whole church, to pray for each person as I handed them the Eucharist, was really profound for me personally. And I hope it was impactful for them to receive the Eucharist on the day of the Pope's funeral in his memory, and to pray for the church as well. So I got done distributing communion, and then the funeral rites happened after, and that was just so beautiful. I just you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the liturgy was absolutely wonderful. It was about a 2-hour mass, and they had the full-on choir, everything. It was just fantastic. And they had some really cool implementations of, using the Greek prayer at the end, and a lot of the readings and stuff, we had the first reading in English, second reading in Spanish, the gospel was in Latin, and then the intentions, we had all sorts of different languages. So that was kind of something that really stuck out for me personally, was kind of like, just like how this event, this funeral, is bringing together just the wholeness of the church and even more. I was there with all of my classmates, and which was very nice for me. And one of my classmates, and we've kind of made like this friendship with some gelato owners in town. And so
That's a good friendship.
yeah,
An important thing to
Yes.
their names are Malika and Ike, and they own this gelateria, and so they came along with us, and so to be able to have them there with us, and also one of my classmates, her name is Lena. She's actually Jewish, and she came along with us as well. And so to like see like, wow, like this event's really kind of bring the city together, and the world. Yeah, I mean, we could see like some political leaders in the distance. So it's just like, yeah, everyone from poor to rich, and all this. And I thought that was very beautiful that we're all kind of sharing this aspect together, and just to be in amongst the people. For me, getting into the funeral was a big process, because there's like these like 3 big checkpoints you have to get to, and we're just like crowds of people, and you're all slowly shifting up. Every time I reached a checkpoint, I'm like, well, I guess this is as close as we're getting. And at the first one, I couldn't even see St. Peter's. It took about 2 hours, and I finally got all the way in, and then we waited another hour for mass to start. So I was able to do some prayers with my brothers. We prayed a rosary together, did morning and office for liturgy of the hours, and then we had mass, which was, yeah, like I said, the liturgy was just really, really profound.
Yeah, the funeral rites at the end I found to be the most solemn, have the most sort of uh, I don't know, the most solemn tone to them. They gave a lot of space for some Eastern Catholic rite bishops and just members to sing in Greek, and I think other languages like Arabic and Syriac, but they have a different singing style, so it was a lot more stark. Like they like to use just the human voice. So they would just be a group of 4 of them singing these beautiful harmonies, or there was just one Eastern bishop at one time who was singing this song in Greek that's particular to Easter. It's an Easter hymn called Christos Aneste, which just means Christ is risen. And just singing that this trope 3 times over the tomb of Pope Francis on Easter Saturday was really profound. Like, wow, that this happened on Easter, that we're celebrating this on Easter, gives it both this sort of solemn sadness, but also this joy, that this gratitude for the life of Pope Francis, and this gratitude for our eternal destiny of heaven.
I'm so
There's
grateful
some-
that,
yeah,
sorry,
there's-
Carmen, that I'm
I
just
was
so
gonna say-
grateful that they could be there for this.
And there was really something to that. I think you weren't the only one who had that response, because just being online and seeing different videos, I saw videos and parts of that particular chant or hymn many, many times. I think that there was something, I don't know how God prepared a lot of our hearts just maybe to respond to that Eastern Christian tradition in such a way. It was interesting how popular that was online as
Awesome.
well.
Awesome.
And you could imagine, like, we're all like, there was some seating, but where I was, we were all just standing there, and we had all sorts of people on their feet throughout the whole mass. But they had made the mass guide available online, so everyone was able to kind of follow. And so for me, like, the music being such a big aspect of the mass for me, being able to listen to like everyone in the crowd kind of come together for the responsorial, like the different hymns and things like that throughout the mass. I thought that was very beautiful. Yeah, just having like this whole piazza full of people coming together in one voice. That was probably the most profound thing for me. Yeah.
Piece of history.
Well, looking ahead now, what, you're spending time with your formators, people who have been in Rome for many, many years. What have they shared with you to expect in the coming days with the conclave?
Yeah, one thing is just the excitement of awaiting the white smoke, the main thing we all want to be there for. We want to see the white smoke. We want to see we have a pope and he comes out on the balcony. So the hope is that our if it happens in the morning that our universities let us out of class to run to the square and
Now, I was talking to Father David, who's a formator here, and this is his third conclave in his lifetime. So, yeah, he said that back in his day, that yeah, basically the schools would just let out because obviously everyone wants to be there when the new pope is announced and he comes out and everyone can see him for the first time. My understanding is that so basically the actual voting process will start on Wednesday. And in the history of when they started this kind of new format of locking up all the cardinals in together, so they have to get this done. It happened because I think there was like a 3-year period basically without a pope.
Oh.
So they made this system to make sure they can do it. And ever since the system's been implemented, it seems that if the longest conclave has only ever lasted like 4 days. So really, we're expecting it to wrap up probably by Friday at the most, but
yeah.
we'll see.
But who knows? There's also talk about how the College of Cardinals comes from all over the world. Pope Francis being a sort of having a heart to bring everybody into one in Rome, and not trying to be too focused on just like only Italians or only Europeans, but really trying to bring everybody. Is that they might not all know each other and know what they're about. So it actually could take a little bit longer in the voting process, or they might have a different understanding of what needs the church has right now. So we don't know how long it'll take. The last one was pretty quick, I think. I think it was maybe 5 votes for Francis, which would only be like 3 days because the first vote is on Wednesday evening, and they just do one vote that day. And then the next morning, Thursday, they would do 2 votes in the morning immediately, one after the other, if there isn't a pope chosen. Then they would break for lunch and a little bit of the afternoon and come back and have 2 more votes in the afternoon, evening. And then they would do, I think, the same thing on Friday. So yeah, we're hoping to get to be here for it.
We hope so
Don't go
too.
too far away. Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty close.
Yeah.
So pretty likely that we'll see the white smoke.
That'd be
So
exciting.
now, are there any, besides, Mass and Liturgy of the Hours, are there any public prayer services at the time, public novenas that are being said, or is mostly that done privately in private devotions over there?
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything. I know during the time of mourning, of course, everybody is including in their mass intentions, praying for Pope Francis. Um,
I think I've heard of just some parishes, yeah, yeah, praying for Pope Francis was kind of a big focus. But I've heard even just like in a lot of homilies here in the city of Rome, especially like on the weekends when we go out, like yeah, people are definitely keeping in mind not only Pope Francis, but also they're praying for the cardinals as well, that they may be able to, discern the Holy Spirit and vote together and come together as one body. So yeah, as far as I can tell, there's definitely a lot of private devotion going on for sure. Um, yeah.
yeah, mostly just continuing intention for the whole church and for the Cardinals gathering.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what we all should be doing. And when this podcast comes out, it will be the day before the conclave is to begin. So it'll be perfect timing for the listeners. But I do want to make a quick note to the listeners. If you hear some little glitchy sounds, it's not your internet with us talking to them across the ocean. There are just a couple little staticky moments here and there, but just bear with us. It's not your internet. It's just distance. So we do want to thank you for basically serving as our Rome and Vatican correspondents in a sense for the diocese. I think people are going to be really excited to hear your firsthand observations and your experiences. It's more than I dreamed that that it would be. So this is so exciting to hear from you, and that people can listen to this as we work through the conclave. I want you, Carmen and I both want you to enjoy this moment in history. You're part of history, and we look forward to your return when you're done with your exams for the academic year, and hope to see you maybe this summer.
I'll be home this summer. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Very good. So we will keep you and everyone should keep you and all of our seminarians in our prayers. And one of our seminarians, Deacon Jake Rosenmeyer, he's part of Divine Mercy, and he will be ordained a priest June 7th at the Cathedral of the Epiphany. I'm sorry you two can't be here yet, but we want to keep him in our prayers as well. So thank all of you for following Illuminating Catholics. We know you probably learned something today, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode and learn more about the faith. Thank you for listening to this episode of Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church. Follow us for more episodes on topics of the Catholic faith. For more diocesan news, visit lumenmedia.org.